Hi everyone, it's Aimee Stonehouse from Sandtons here, and I'm with the lovely Alex from My Lawyer in Spain. Alex, I have to point out the obvious, I can't help but notice your shoes.
Thank you very much, Aimee. So I was on holiday and I walked past this shoe shop and I saw that they were standardising shoes, and I couldn't help but actually think, no, that'd be a great marketing tool that we could use.
It's fantastic.
And I thought, yeah, let's do that. So I ordered these shoes, and I sent a photo of the shoes to my colleagues in the office. I said, what do you think of these? And they all loved it.
Yeah.
And the next day I had 20 orders.
They're great. I love it. They're very eye-catching.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And I've worn my happy socks today as well.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so Aimee, my parents moved to Spain in 1981.
Okay.
So I grew up in Spain. I went to an English school to start with, and then when my parents saw I wasn't learning any Spanish, they put me in a Spanish school.
Oh dear.
And then I, within 6 months I was fluent.
Yeah.
Finished Spanish school, and then went back to UK to study law.
Okay.
And then I started practicing as a lawyer in '99.
Amazing.
And then I got offered a job to come back to Spain in 2003.
Great.
And since then we've been acting. Well, I've been acting for international clients, buying, selling, and inheriting property here in Spain and all over the islands as well.
So, Alex, there's a two-part question here. So, if I wanted to buy a property here as an EU national, how would I do that?
Okay, sure. So the buying process for EU nationals and non-EU nationals is exactly the same.
Okay.
They pay the same cost of purchase, and the process is exactly the same. It all comes down to if you want to spend time here. Okay. So an EU national would apply for residency, and a non-EU national would apply for a visa. Okay. The EU national can apply if they intend to spend more than 90 days in Spain. Then they're obliged to apply for that residency.
Right.
And we do that here in Spain by going to the Foreigners Office.
And then the second part to that question is, what if you're a third nation national? How would you go about that?
Okay, so certainly, again, if you want to spend more than 90 days in a 180-day period here in Spain as a non-EU national, then you have to basically apply for a visa. And there's different types of visas. So you can come on your holiday visa, basically, just with your passport. You get stamped when you come in, and it'll get stamped when you leave. But essentially, more than 90 days, you need that visa. And there's various types of visas for that.
Okay, great. So Alex, tell me, what are the different types of visas?
Okay, so we've got basically the non-lucrative visa.
Okay.
That's, again, for non-EU nationals, and it means you're coming to Spain and you're not allowed to work. So non-lucrative. So you're not allowed to work at all, not allowed to work in Spain, or you're not allowed to work for anyone out overseas. And in effect, that visa, you apply for that visa from your home country. So we act for clients all over the world who want to come and live in Spain, spend more than 90 days here, and we help them with all the paperwork for that visa. And then the visa that came out basically not long ago is the digital nomad visa. And that visa is someone who is authorized by their company to work from Spain for them. Okay. So they can work from Spain for their overseas company. And at most they can bill 20% of their income to clients in Spain, but 80% has to be overseas.
Okay, great.
Okay, but generally speaking, we're acting for a lot of those clients, the digital nomad visas, who are employed and authorized to come and work in Spain.
So I guess the question on everyone's lips, how do clients go about applying?
Okay, so basically the non-lucrative visa, you apply for it from your home country.
Okay.
So you apply for it from the Spanish consulate where you live. Okay, so for example, a lot of English clients, British clients are applying for those visas now. There's 3 consulates in the UK, Edinburgh, Manchester and London. So in effect, we would help them prepare the paperwork. They go along to the visa appointment. They let the consulate know when they wish to come to Spain, and they get the visa. They come to Spain, and then we apply for the TIE, which is their foreigner's identification card, and they get that when they come over to Spain. So that's the non-lucrative visa. And the digital nomad visa is granted for up to a 3-year period, or for the length of the contract that you've got, allowing you to work in Spain.
Great, so there's plenty of options there. And I can't help but ask, what are the costs involved in this?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends if it's an individual applicant, a married couple, an unmarried couple, family of 4, etc. So, but generally speaking, I'd say for a married couple applying for a non-lucrative visa, you're looking at anywhere between €2,500 to €3,500. And I'd say that's similar to for all the visas really.
Okay.
But obviously there's variations depending on how many people are involved
Yeah.
and what their circumstances are, and how many documents need to be translated.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell me, Alex, how long do visas last and how do people go about extending them?
Okay, sure. So basically, the non-lucrative visa is for 1 year.
Okay.
Okay, and then once that year comes to an end, it's renewed from Spain, so you don't have to go back to your home country, and basically you get a 2-year extension. And then if you want to carry on after that 2 years, so you're up to year 3, you'd get another 2-year extension. And then once you're at year 5, you can apply for long-term residency,
Right.
and you don't have to keep on proving that the financial resources.
Yeah.
And that you're still living in Spain and you've got insurance in place, that sort of thing, okay? And the digital nomad visa, that can be renewed as well. Okay. So all of these visas can be renewed.
Great. So Alex, tell me, what are the documents that are needed for the non-lucrative visa?
Okay, so remember, the non-lucrative visa, someone's coming to Spain and they're retiring. They're not going to be working here.
Okay.
So in effect, they need an address in Spain, an address in their home country.
Yeah.
They need to prove that they've got sufficient financial resources. That kind of goes up depending on how many people are applying. But typically for a married couple, you're talking about 36,000 euros.
Okay.
Okay. They need, if they're married, then they need a marriage certificate. And if they've got children, they need birth certificates as well. Okay. And they would need private medical insurance and a clean criminal record. Okay. And all those documents need to be stamped with the apostille of The Hague, because they're going to be used overseas and translated. All of that we can help the clients with.
Okay, fantastic. And finally, for the digital nomad visa, tell me what documents are needed for that.
Okay, so typically there's, we're acting for company directors, we're acting for employees, but the first document is authorization from your employer.
Okay.
Allowing you to work in Spain, okay, and confirming that you've got sufficient IT in place to be able to carry out the job that you carry out. Then you would need, you've got to prove the financial resources. You've got to prove that you've got sufficient monies coming in, and then you need an address here in Spain, and that's basically it.
Now, many clients say it's not actually that easy to get a visa. What do you do if you get rejected?
Okay, so actually, none of the clients that we've acted for have had their visa rejected.
Okay.
So, part of instructing professionals to help you with a visa is saying, can I get my visa?
Yeah.
So, for example, we've had clients contact and say, look, I've got a criminal record certificate. I did something silly a few years back. It's not spent yet. Will I get my visa? Well, probably not, right? But after 5 years, if that criminal conviction has now been spent, then you can probably get the visa. So we would look at that paperwork up front. Okay. We've had no rejections. Okay. So non-lucrative visa, digital nomad visa, and golden visa have all gone through.
Okay.
So 100% success record, and because we get all the documents up front, and we're going to advise you right from the start whether or not you can do this.
That's great. So I think what would be really helpful is to know the time frame within each visa.
Yeah. So for example, on the non-lucrative visa, it does take time to get these documents together. You've got to get them translated.
Yeah.
You've got to send them to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, etc. So I'd allow anywhere between a month and 2 months.
Okay.
And then basically, when clients contact us, we actually ask them, when do you want to come to Spain? Right. Because when you want to come to Spain is actually the most important question. And then we work backwards.
Okay.
But typically I'd say for the non-lucrative visa, anywhere between 2 and 4 months.
Okay.
And then once they come to Spain, we would book them an appointment at the local town hall to register on the census, which is known as the padron.
Yeah.
And once they've got that, then we'd book them an appointment at the foreigner's office to obtain their residency. Okay. And that process, when they're in Spain, we've got to deal with that within 30 days.
Okay.
Right?
Great.
That's the non-lucrative process. As far as the digital nomad visa is concerned, again, collating the documents, that can take a month, 2 months, and then we submit it online.
Okay.
And we're getting those authorizations back within 10 to 20 days.
Great. So I think something that might be quite important to touch on, should someone buy a house before they get their residency?
Non-lucrative visa, that's an interesting one. Again, we haven't had any rejections. Okay. Again, if the paperwork is there and we review that up front, we would then say, yeah, look, you're gonna get approval. So it's just, I suppose people come unstuck sometimes on financial resources and maybe the criminal record certificate. So we'd want to see that they've got sufficient financial resources to live on, and they haven't got any kind of nasty skeletons in their cupboard, so to speak.
Yeah, no, of course.
But if the financial resources match up, then what we're talking about is financial resources for the non-lucrative visa is For a married couple, 36,000 euros in the bank account.
Okay.
Okay, that gets updated on an annual basis in line with inflation. And then year 2, you've got to show that you've got almost double those monies coming in.
Okay.
So, but that obviously, the non-lucrative visa, you're not allowed to work. So that can be savings, that can be income from rentals, or that could just be money in a bank account. Okay. So that all that, if you've got, someone said to me, look, I've got 100,000 sat in a bank account, no problem with the non-lucrative visa. Criminal record certificate, no, go and buy the house.
Okay.
So again, we haven't had any issues where people have bought a house and not been granted their visa.
Got it.
Okay. And actually a lot of people, Aimee, want to buy the property first, use it, try it out, see if they like it, and then move to Spain.
Okay.
Because it's a big move.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
So tell me, Alex, when would I become a tax resident?
Okay, Aimee, so when you spend more than 183 days in Spain, in a calendar year, January to December, that's when you become a tax resident. Okay. So someone moving to Spain, let's just say they move to Spain in April. There's 183 days between April and December, so they would submit a tax return the following year, the year after they've arrived. But let's just say they arrived in August, because there's not 183 days between August and September, and they haven't spent days beforehand, which would be included in the count, they wouldn't be considered a tax resident. Okay. It's only when you spend 183 days in the whole year. And, it doesn't have to be consecutive, so it could be individual days and holidays. And a day is considered, someone flies in today and flies out tomorrow, that would be treated as 2 days.
Okay. Are there any taxes that I can mitigate when I'm moving to Spain?
Listen, that's a really good question, okay? Because if you are selling your main property in your home country and you move to Spain and you've made a gain on that property, right? And if you invested all the monies from the gain of that property into a Spanish one, there's no capital gains tax.
Okay.
But what Spain does do, they say, if you've made a gain on that and you don't reinvest all the monies into your Spanish property, then they could tax you on that if you were a Spanish tax resident.
Okay.
So, for example, someone moving to Spain in April, they sold their house in March, moved to Spain in April, and they'd made a gain on the sale of their home property, didn't reinvest all monies, they could be taxed on that.
Okay.
So what's really important when you're moving to Spain is timing. Timing. If they spend less than 183 days, then they're not going to pay tax here. Or sell the property towards the end of the year, or sell it whenever you want, but don't spend 183 days in Spain.
Got it. Okay. Time now for a client question. So we've got the lovely Paula. She's from the US and she's buying a home in Estepona for around 300,000. She's been living with her partner Alan for a few years now, but they are not married. She's planning to get her non-lucrative visa and she earns about 150,000 a year. Alan doesn't work. They've heard that if Paula gets her non-lucrative visa, Alan will be accepted too. If they can prove they've lived together for 2 years, as if they were a married couple, is that okay?
Okay, so basically, Aimee, ultimately they will have to apply for the non-lucrative visa from their home country. Okay. So it's up to them to provide sufficient evidence that they are kind of a married couple for all intents and purposes. Okay. So in effect, they've got to prove that they've been living together for all those years. Photographs, joint bank accounts, maybe on the electoral roll. Phone bills in their names, etc. So they present all this information and evidence that they're in a stable relationship, and they present this to the consulate in their home country, and then the consulate will decide. Okay. And it really is at the consulate's discretion. Okay. Now, if the and we have had situations like that, and we've had clients who've been together for 30 plus years and they've accepted that, okay? But they've asked for all this information. People say, what's the list of information? Well, actually, no, it's up to you to prove it. Okay? So, going back all those years, providing photographs, etc., and just evidence. Just evidence that they live together. If that got rejected for whatever reason, though, right, they can come over to Spain and they could actually, the applicant comes over, the main applicant comes to Spain, and she gets a non-lucrative visa. She gets it from the US, gets a non-lucrative visa, comes to Spain. We get her TIE card. And then what they can do is they can sign what's known as a pareja de hecho, which is basically mean it's a cohabitation agreement.
Okay.
And on that basis, he would then get a visa. Okay. So if the consulate in their home country rejected it, there's a second alternative, getting it through the pareja de hecho, which is like a common law wife spouse agreement here in Spain.
Amazing. So there's always another way.
There's always another way. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
So Alex, tell me, is it advisable to have a Spanish will?
Absolutely. So if you've got Spanish assets, have a Spanish will. Spanish will, Spanish assets, and a will for all the other assets you've got in the world.
Okay.
And that they work together. Okay. Why? Because on death, it makes it much easier and quicker to administer the Spanish estate if you've got a Spanish will.
Amazing.
Okay. And you can mitigate inheritance tax.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely have a Spanish will. And then if you update a will, typically the first clause of a will is I revoke all former wills.
Okay.
So it'd be I revoke all former wills except my Spanish will dated X.
Got it.
We prepare the wills in English and Spanish, and they're signed before a notary here in Spain.
Amazing.
Or in your home country, and then registered with the Central Wills Registry. But yeah, it's a key recommendation.
Alex, thank you so much for coming in today.
Hey, my pleasure.
It was a pleasure meeting
great to meet you. Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Excellent.
Thank you.